Your Mind, a World Mental Health Day virtual forum. I'm Claire Dulay and I'll be your host for today. So to all our viewers, thank you so much for joining us this afternoon. Alam ko, maraming busy sa inyo, sa school, sa work, at sa iba niyo pang mga deadlines. Kaya naman salamat at pinili niyong samahan kami sa aming Facebook Live ngayong hapon na to. I promise that this will be worthwhile and it's going to be a very exciting and informative day as we will be joined by pioneering women and ambassadors of mental health awareness in the country. O di ba? Siguradong marami tayong matututunan ngayon. Kaya kilalanin na natin ang mga makakasama natin ngayong hapon na to. Later, we'll have the National Chairperson of Youth for Mental Health Coalition Incorporated, Miss Alyannah Lagasca. We also have a celebrity doctor na I'm sure kilala niyong lahat because she's also a mental health advocate, Dr. Gia Sison. And finally, one of the most beloved Binibining candidates this year, Binibining Pilipinas second runner-up Stacey Gabriel. O diba? Sobrang exciting. Kaya naman sa lahat ng viewers namin ngayon, please feel free to like and share our virtual forum using the hashtags Mind Your Mind and City of Firsts. Please invite your family and friends to watch so we can open a discussion on mental health na isang topic na alam kong a lot of us probably don't have a lot of knowledge on or we have so many questions on. So feel free to raise your mental health related questions later and comment it in the comment section. And after the talks of our guests, they will be addressing all your questions during the Q&A segment. And if meron naman kayong mga nagustuhang quotable quotes or learnings mula sa ating speakers, please click the react button and send us some love. Diba? Alam ko marami na akong sinabi at alam ko excited na kayong ma-meet ang ating guest speakers this afternoon. So I think it's time that we introduce our lovely guests. Let's begin. Our first speaker is a mental health warrior who gave inspiration to many during her campaign in the recently concluded Binibining Pilipinas pageant. She's been very vocal about her struggles during the pandemic and how she was able to overcome her anxiety and depression. And it's been part of the reason why she joined pageantry, to be the voice of those who fell silent during the pandemic. So please welcome Binibining Pilipinas second runner-up, Stacey Gabriel.
Hello to my Araneta City family. It's Stacey Gabriel, Binibining Pilipinas 2022 second runner-up. I am so thrilled to celebrate World Mental Health Day with you. And although I couldn't join you live, I am filming from backstage at a show and know that I have you in my heart. I feel profoundly blessed to belong to a family that marks these occasions, marks these significant moments, because by doing so, you send a message to your shoppers, your mall goers, concert watchers, employees, members, that mental health matters to us, and it should matter to you too. About 2.5 months ago now, I had the privilege of a lifetime of taking the Binibining Pilipinas stage and speaking about one of my deepest passions. When I said, I dream of a country where mental health care is destigmatized and democratized. And although the road towards that dream will not be without its naysayers, it will not be without its trials, this here conversation, vulnerability, open-heartedness is how we get there. This is a step towards the right path, towards the right direction. And I could not be luckier to embark on this journey with you. Hopefully, by talking about it more openly, we can chip away at the injustices surrounding mental health and chip away at the stigma, especially. I am privileged enough to have access to medication. I decided about a year ago to finally take medication for my anxiety and OCD, and that has changed my life tremendously. But I know that that isn't for everybody, and that isn't accessible to everybody, unfortunately, as sad as it is. So I would like to share with you 3 of my favorite tools, 3 of the tools in my arsenal that I used to really milk and take advantage of back when medication was not in my life, and therapy was not in my life. And they are, first and foremost, you're gonna hate me for this, but exercise. I often say that mental health is physical health. They are one and the same. When I feel scattered and overwhelmed up here, and when I feel like the weight of the world is dragging me down, there is nothing like metabolizing my emotions through movement. It always makes me think clearer and feel a little bit lighter. My steps are a little bit lighter. I feel more at ease, and it is rewarding, and it truly is a worthwhile practice. And although I dread it about 2 hours before each workout, I never regret it afterwards. Second is, what was my second? Shoot, what was my second? Second, self-care. They often say, I hear a ton that self-care is selfish. You know, why would you spend time doing a 5-step skincare routine when you could be using that time elsewhere? And although some might think that it is frivolous and trivial, I think it is one of the most substantive decisions that we make. Because by choosing to pour love and compassion into ourselves, we then make room to pour love and compassion into others. They say we can't give what we don't have. So when we give ourselves that love, we are in a better position to give love to others. And the last one, I know the last one, meditation. Again, it sounds kind of hippy-dippy, like woo-woo, meditation. But I tell you, it is not as it sounds. It really is focusing on your breath, practicing mindfulness, sitting in the silence of the moment and appreciating the moment for what it is. Just listening to the rising and falling of your breath. And, you know, at first I started with 2 minutes, and then 5, and then 10. And, you know, practice makes progress. And now every time I do it, I feel much lighter and much more at peace and grounded within myself and centered. And I hope that you try 1, 2, if not all of my tips, my tools. Mental health warriors and people who love a mental health warrior even. You know, I always tell my mom, if there's anything harder than having a mental illness, it's loving someone who has a mental illness, because I saw her struggle, I saw her sacrifice, and she suffered with me immensely, seeing her daughter and feeling so helpless. She really did. She was in the trenches with me, and she felt my pain deeply. So whether you're a mental health warrior or someone who loves a mental health warrior, I see you, I believe in you, I'm proud of you for doing the best you can, and I am holding your hand towards this journey to healing. May we continue to empower one another to unleash our fullest potential. I love you, and I hope to meet you soon. Mwah.
All right, thank you so much, Miss Stacy, for that very inspiring story, for sharing with us your personal journey. Alam ko maraming nakaka-relate sa mga nanonood sa atin ngayon. So again, to all our viewers, please share this Facebook Live to your friends, to your family, anyone you know who's struggling about their mental health. So we'll be sure to keep in mind the 3 tips that you shared with us to help us with our mental health. Again, that's to exercise, practice self-care, and meditate. And hopefully, this will help us with our mental health. To all our viewers, please feel free to comment down below your mental health related questions, and we'll address those later with the help of our guest speakers. And don't forget also to share our virtual forum this afternoon with the hashtags Mind Your Mind and City of Firsts. Now, after that insightful talk, I think it's now time for us to get updates or know more about the status of the mental health bill in the country. As you all know, the first Mental Health Act legislation in the history of the Philippines has been signed into law on June 21, 2018. Pero 4 years later, ano na nga ba ang naging progress nito? So here with us this afternoon is one of the persons behind the passing of the Mental Health Act in the country. Please welcome National Chairperson of Youth for Mental Health Coalition Incorporated, Ms. Alyannah Lagasca.
Isang mapagpalayang araw po sa ating lahat. Sobrang saya, no? Kasi ngayong araw ay mapag-usapan natin ang RA 11036 on top of us actually celebrating Mental Health Day. Grabe, parang kinakabahan ako dahil ngayon na lang ulit ako nagsalita, no, about this one. And definitely, no, I hope dito sa aking maikling discussion, you'll be able to learn about RA 11036 at kung ano na nga ba yung mga nagawa natin ng ating bansa, hindi lamang ng ating gobyerno, but ng lahat in actually working on the mental health situation in the Philippines. Pero bago ako magtungo, no, dun sa aking presentation for this afternoon, let me take you into a 30-second video about the accomplishments of mental health law. Let's watch this. Maraming salamat po. That video is actually from the Department of Health. So, technically, ito pong video na to was actually released last year. And we're still waiting, no, for the new developments, no, patungkol sa RA 11036 ngayong 2022. And I'm just very happy to also inform you, no, that there are a lot of developments, no, mula sa pagpasa ng mental health bill hanggang naging law ito, naipasa ang IRR nito noong January 22, 2019, nagawa ang National Strategic Plan on Mental Health at ang marami pang iba't ibang guidelines at iba pang mga polisiya para sa ating kalusugang pangkaisipan. Ngunit, subalit datapwat, alam po ba talaga natin, no, kung ano ang nilalaman ng RA 11036? Dahil ngayong hapon, bibigyan ko kayo ng very brief lang, no, na discussion about what it actually is and para kanino nga ba itong ating batas. Let me just share my screen. Alright, so RA 11036, it was passed into law last June 20, 2018, no? So, 4 na taon na po ang nakalipas. At nakita natin kanina, no, yung iba't ibang mga developments sa ating batas, katulad ng medication access sites, no? Dahil meron po tayong medication access program na dala sa atin, no, ng Department of Health. Meron na rin po tayong nationwide crisis hotline. Ito yung NCMH or the National Center for Mental Health Crisis Hotline at meron na rin ibang mga LGUs, regions, no, na merong mga sarili nilang hotlines din. Katulad na lamang po, no, ang isa sa mga pinaka-advanced when it comes to localizing the mental health law is Western Visayas or Region 6. Kung saan meron na silang mental health crisis hotline for the region at meron na rin silang regional mental health council. Pero bago tayo magtungo doon, no, kukwentuhan ko lang kayo actually kung ano nga ba yung laman ng batas at kung ano na yung mga iba't iba pang nagagawa at ginawa, no, para sa RA 11036. Alright. So, balikan muna natin, no, RA 11036 history. Bago po tayo nagkaroon ng mental health law or yung HB 349 ni Representative Kimbo at saka yung SB or the Senate Bill 1190 ni Senator Risa Hontiveros way back in 2016 actually, no. Merong 13 bills filed before that. So talagang napakahaba actually, no, nung pinagdaanan ng ating mental health bill bago ito napasa sa ating Senado at ating Kongreso. Noon ding 1998 ay nagkaroon actually ng Executive Order number 470 si President Ramos kung saan tinayo niya yung Philippine Council for Mental Health. But it was just in 2018 na napagtibay na nagkaroon ng batas. At actually, yung Youth for Mental Health Coalition nga po ay na-establish ng 2016 bilang there was this call for young people to also join the co-drafting of the mental health bill. Dahil dito sa ating bansa, mayroong mga specific na studies na nagsasabi na ang mga kabataang Pilipino daw ay takes up a huge portion of those who are actually experiencing mental health conditions or mental health challenges. Kaya nga naman, tagline din ito ng DOH, Mental Health Division and ng WHO, nothing about us without us. Kaya naman, sa pakikipagtulungan natin sa opisina ni Senator Risa Hontiveros, ng iba pang mental health organizations at ng iba pang mga civil society organizations out there and even government agencies, of course, nagkaroon tayo ng isang inclusive and participatory co-drafting ng mental health bill kung saan ang mga gusto nating sanang maisama yung mga concerns ng young people ay naisama natin sa batas. Alright. So ano nga ba yung objectives ng RA 11036? Una sa lahat, syempre yung ma-strengthen pa natin yung leadership and governance para sa pag-aayos ng mental health situation sa ating bansa. Dahil nga ito yung kauna-unahang batas, hindi ito amendment, but kauna-unahang batas para mapagtibay yung ating mga polisiya, programa at iba pang proyekto para sa kalusugang pangkaisipan. Kailangan talaga natin ng isang effective na leadership and governance. Pangalawa, syempre to develop and establish a comprehensive, integrated, effective, and efficient national healthcare system. Kung kaya't nakaangkla po talaga yung RA 11036 sa ating universal healthcare. Pangatlo, syempre, nandito na rin yung pag-protect sa rights and freedoms ng persons living with mental health conditions or mental health challenges, or yung tinatawag nating mga service users. At syempre, hindi lamang naman yung karapatan at yung kalayaan ng mga people living with mental health conditions, but yung karapatan din ng mga carers, ng mga nag-aalaga, and basically nating lahat. Dahil ang mental health po ay isang napaka-importanteng aspeto ng ating buhay. Pang-apat, syempre, ano pa nga ba? Kailangan natin ng isang epektibong information system dahil nga ang problema natin nung nakaraan kung kaya nagkaroon din tayo ng stigma on mental health ay dahil hindi natin napag-uusapan talaga ang kalusugang pangkaisipan. Kaya naman dapat ang mga impormasyon patungkol dito ay nadadala natin pababa sa grassroots level, sa iba't ibang komunidad, sa mga pamilya, sa mga barangay, at even sa ating magkakaibigan, sa ating mga different groups. Every one of us, we deserve to know about what mental health really is. Then, panglima, of course, integrate mental health care in the basic health services. Yung pagkakaroon ng mas maayos na serbisyo para sa kalusugang pangkaisipan sa iba't ibang mga pasilidad, health facilities as well. And lastly, of course, integrating strategies to promote mental health sa iba't ibang groups. Nandiyan yung school, workplaces, and of course, communities. So naririto po yung 6 building blocks for health, kung saan makikita nga natin na kinakailangan natin yung 6 na ito na system building blocks para magkaroon tayo ng improved health with level and quality, responsiveness dun sa mga iba't ibang mga mental health situations. Meron din tayong financial risk protection and improve efficiency sa lahat ng serbisyo na naibibigay natin para sa kalusugang pangkaisipan. Gusto ko lamang din po na maintindihan natin na ang Philippine Mental Health Law ay isang rights-based law dahil nakaangkla din po ito sa Universal Declaration of Human Rights, sa Magna Carta for Disabled Persons at sa Convention on the Rights of People with Disabilities. Actually, kung familiar po kayo sa Sustainable Development Goals ng United Nations, kabilang din po ito sa SDG 3 or Good Health and Well-being. Kung kaya naman pinagsama-sama natin yung lahat ng frameworks na yon at yun din yung pinag-aralan ng iba't ibang mga organisasyon, ahensya, mental health service providers nung ginagawa din namin yung National Strategic Plan on Mental Health. And actually, that was the National Strategic Plan on Mental Health was a plan made no for 2019 to 2023. So may isang taon pa po tayo para ma-actualize natin yung localization ng ating mental health law. So whose rights are being protected by the mental health law? Katulad pa ng sinabi ko kanina, syempre nandiyan yung service users, no? Dahil kinakailangan natin silang protektahan from the stigma circulating, no? Revolving around mental health. Kailangan natin mabago din, no? Yung perspektibo patungkol sa kalusugang pangkaisipan. Dahil no, for the longest time, it was a topic na hindi po natin napag-usapan ng maigi. Kaya naman meron pa rin po tayong stigma patungkol dito. Meron pong ilan na hindi pa rin nakakaalam kung ano nga bang ibig sabihin ng kalusugang pangkaisipan. Kaya tayo sa mga manonood natin, ano nga ba ang ibig sabihin ng kalusugang pangkaisipan? Kung ano yung opinion nyo about it, baka pwede nyo namang i-comment no, sa ating comment section because we also want to know how you perceive, no? Ano ba ang perspective nyo when it comes to mental health? Siyempre, nandiyan din yung access to care dahil we all deserve no quality care no para sa lahat. Nandiyan din yung freedom from solitary confinement or torture kasi dapat yung serbisyo na nakukuha natin ay of quality, humane, no? And napoprotektahan yung ating karapatang pantao. And syempre, nandiyan din yung access to different aftercare rehabilitation and information about services and what mental health is. Nandito na rin, no, pinoprotektahan din ng batas yung right to confidentiality, no? So, yung information about yung personal information basically no ng isang service user ay hindi pwedeng ma-disclose sa kahit na sino without written consent no of the service user or a legal representative. Nandito din yung pag-empower, no? The right that empowers the service users. Pag sinabi nating empower, ibig sabihin binibigyan natin sila ng pagkakataon or oportunidad, no? Na iboses din no, yung kanilang mga sitwasyon at makisali no, sa paggawa ng isang mas komprehensibo at mas epektibong kaparaanan kung papaano natin ma-address no, yung mental health situation or yung mental health conditions na kanila din namang na-experience. Nandiyan din no, yung pag-participate in the development and formulation ng kahit anong treatment no, na pagdadaanan nila. And of course, nandiyan din yung information within 24 hours of admission to a mental health facility and access to clinical records or communication. Meron din tayong legal rights na tinatawag, no? So, apart from the informed consent na dapat naman talaga in any healthcare practice, diba? Dapat you're informed, no? And merong consent natin for whatever kind of treatment that we are going through. Nandiyan din yung other safeguards like advance directive, meron din kayong karapatan for a legal representative, supported decision-making by your immediate family or anyone, no, na authorized na guardian nyo, for example, and internal review board. And shortly lang, no, it was just, I think, last week, nung nag-meeting kami sa internal review board, at malaki na po, no, yung progress na nakukuha natin. So, shout out po, no, sa ating DOH group and of course the Commission on Human Rights for actually working on the internal review board. Pag pinag-usapan po natin na internal review board, ito po yung check, no? Parang dito tayo pwedeng magbigay ng complaints about probably an inhumane treatment, no, that we receive from a facility and the alike. Kaya naman napaka-importante din ito because we really want to give yung quality service for all. That's why right now, as far as I am concerned, no, meron na talaga tayong specific internal review board and kapag pumunta po tayo sa DOH Academy, which is online, we can also study no yung specific na module about IRB. Of course, apart from the service users, nandiyan din yung ating pamilya dahil napaka-importante ng kanilang role no in recovery and rehabilitation. Siyempre, in the process also of recovery of the service user, may pagkakataon din no na maybe no maging anxious no ang ating pamilya about the situation that you are going through. Kaya naman dapat meron ding specific care na naiibigay para sa kanila. Pag pinag-usapan naman po natin ang health governance, no? So we created the Philippine Council for Mental Health. It is a policy making, planning, and coordinating advisory body, no? It's attached to the DOH to oversee yung implementation ng ating batas. And sa PCMH, mamaya, no, ipapakita ko yung composition niyan. Apart from that, nagkaroon na rin tayo ng mental health division, no? Under the BPCB ng DOH. At ngayon, gusto ko lang din mag-shoutout kay Dr. Llevado at saka kay Lamads from the Mental Health Division for a job well done, no, in the past few months. And syempre na rin kay Ma'am Presi for leading the Mental Health Division for the for the past few years, because it was very difficult also, no, for the Mental Health Division dahil kakaunti lamang sila, pero kailangan natin gumawa na maraming initiatives, no, for mental health throughout the years. But then, no, they are doing their best and they are coordinating with a lot of partners para maibigay sa atin, no, yung services that we actually deserve. So yung Philippine Council for Mental Health po natin, ang Secretary of DOH po ang chairperson. Nandiyan din po yung DepEd, DILG, CHR, CHED, DOLE, and representatives from the academe, representative from mental health professional organizations, and representative from NGOs. Kaya naman napaka-inclusive, no, and really participatory yung mga planning, no, ng iba't ibang programs and policies for mental health. Alright. For service delivery naman, of course, we need to improve, no, yung services that we are providing. No? So it should be evidence-based at all times and it should be responsive, no, sa lahat ng pagkakataon. Hindi lamang dun sa clinical, gender, cultural, ethnic, or other special needs, but also, no, yung situation, socio-economic situation ng ating bansa. Nandiyan din, of course, it should be appropriate, no, dun sa age, no, ng ating service user. So, we are also hoping na available yung services in all regional, provincial, and tertiary hospitals. Sa kasamang palad, hindi pa ito masyadong na actualize, no? But we're getting there, no? Baby steps. Right now, there are only a few mental health only a few hospitals, no, in the regional, provincial, and tertiary that are actually catering to mental health service users. At the same time, dahil din po ito, no, na kakaunti lamang po yung ating mental health professionals in the country, and 110 billion, no, ang population ng Pilipinas. Kaya naman kung ikaw ay isang estudyante na papasok na ng kolehiyo, baka gusto mo din mag-aral ng psychology and later on advanced learning, no, para isa ka din sa mga magiging mental health professionals sa ating bansa dahil kinakailangan din naman talaga natin ng mas marami pang mental health professionals. Next, syempre, outpatient hospital services should be in collaboration with existing mental health programs. If we would check, actually, the National Center for Mental Health is also changing, no, their landscape para makapagbigay pa sila ng mga services and even, no, research for mental health na sobrang kulang din dito sa ating bansa. On top of that, we also need, of course, mechanisms for mental health promotion. So marami na pag-aaral and just this year, no, marami na rin yung mga nilabas ng the World Health Organization and Department of Health na certain calls to create different guidelines and policies also para sa ating mental health advocacy. Okay. Nandiyan na din yung community-based mental health services. Kung tumingin po tayo dito sa photo, no, this is actually playbook number 5 of the Health Promotions Bureau that we co-created together with PGCA and Peer Association of the Philippines, no? And this one is actually a peer support group for the youth toolkit na meron din kasama na guidelines, no, para sa ating local government units on how they can on what they should include in the ordinance that they will create and how they can actualize, no, yung ating toolkit. We co-created this with the Department of Health dahil ang gusto natin ay magkaroon tayo ng sense of community care, no, informal community care. Dahil sumasagot din ito sa ating problema, nakakaunti lamang yung mental health professionals sa bansa. There are some mental health challenges that can be prevented, yung onset ng mas severe forms through informal community care, no? Kaya kinakailangan talaga natin ang bawat isa in creating mentally healthy and resilient communities. So, nakalaan sa ating batas, no, na dapat efficient yung community-based mental health facilities sa ating mga barangay, no? Actually, when we were strategizing, no, yung or drafting yung National Strategic Plan on Mental Health, what we actually wanted was a help desk sa certain barangays. Kaya naman, from 2019 up until now, no, there are different training sessions for your barangay health workers and other officials sa inyong barangay para naman makapagbigay din sila ng pang-unang serbisyo, no, for mental health. Meron din sa batas na nakasaad about suicide prevention services. So right now, we have the National Center for Mental Health Crisis Hotline, which is 24/7 open, no? And just this March 1, 2022, nailabas na, no, yung guidelines in the responsible and ethical promotion and portrayal of suicide in films, media, etc., audiovisuals even. So that particular guidelines we co-created it with DOH and the WHO together with mental health professional organizations, mental health youth-led organizations, and even media practitioners, no? Isa siyang rigorous process that we did last year in order to provide yung specific guidelines. Dahil kinakailangan responsible, no, yung ating media practitioners and even us in portraying or even reporting suicide cases in any form of media. Mental health in schools, as far as I know, no, nagkaroon na rin tayo ng toolkit, no, co-created by DOH together with Unilab Foundation and other organizations. It is for schools, guidance, no, for schools, para kung paano i-integrate, no, yung age-appropriate mental health programs sa school curricula. Mental health in workplaces. I think that was in 2019 when we co-drafted the memorandum from the Department of Labor and Employment, kung saan nandun na, no, yung guidelines for workplaces or companies on what they have to keep in mind or take into consideration when they are creating their very own mental health program. And just in fact, Araneta City, the city of firsts, is discussing about mental health, diba? So it's an added plus to that na marami na talaga, no, yung ating mga kumpanya na meron namang mental health programs right now. At the same time, meron na rin tayong mental health leaves. It's still also being discussed, no? And some organizations are already implementing it. Dito naman tayo sa mental health of people who use drugs, no, o yung PWODs. Nakasaad sa batas din na may mental health aspect din in implementing the Dangerous Drugs Act or RA 9165. Meron din dito nakasaad yung policy treating drug dependency as a health issue, no? Dahil substance use and abuse is actually a mental health concern, diba? So there should be drug screening services to be included in the local health facilities. Pagdating naman sa public awareness, we very heightened na, no, yung nationwide multimedia campaign. During the time of the pandemic, Youth for Mental Health Coalition created what we call Zoom dates, no, wherein every month Actually, siguro parang every week ata yun, every 2 weeks, we had a discussion about mental health. So it was held online via Zoom. Tapos doon lang, no, pinag-uusapan natin yung intersectionalities ng mental health. And right now, a lot of schools, yung mga psychology society, not kahit nga hindi psychology society, iba't ibang mga organisasyon, di ba? And even youth-led organizations are actually discussing about mental health in order to promote awareness, 'di ba? Dahil napaka-importante ng public awareness para makuha natin no yung ating goal at talagang makakuha tayo ng isang collective action towards a mentally healthy and resilient Philippines. Nandiyan na din yung katulad ng sinabi ko kanina, no, yung creation of the Internal Review Board na nag-aayos ng disputes, nag-review ng cases, and other controversies, no, dahil napaka-important din talaga na meron tayong complaints desk, no, para alam natin kung ang humane treatment ba ay naibibigay, no, sa ating service users. Meron din penalty clause, no, to anyone that will actually violate the law, no? At nandito po yung ating mga cases na yan. There's also this health financing that is actually in the law dahil napaka-importante talaga na may budget, no? Because paano natin ma-actualize yung batas without a budget? So the strategic plan was created the whole of 2019. So we had several learning workshops. We had several validation workshops also. And syempre, brainstorming also of what should be in the strategic plan. So we can also create a suitable and appropriate budget proposal, no, yung allocation para doon. And nandun din sa health financing yung provision of equitable insurance packages in coordination with PhilHealth, which I think is still in talks up until now. But mind you, no, for 2023, no, ang balita natin is merong 2.1 billion budget allocation for mental health programs. So actually, Y4MH is going to be discussing about the 2023 budget in sometime this October, November, and hopefully, no, makasama din namin kayo in actually discussing, no, kung ano nga ba yung mga most important line items, no, na kinakailangan natin paglaanan ng karampatan na budget. And pagdating naman sa health information systems, dapat mayroong appropriate na information system. As far as I know, DOH is actually creating a better system on suicide registry, also creating a better system for all the other data, no, that we have. Kaya naman, super excited ako actually for what will happen in 2023. Kasi nga, napag-aalaman ko na ito mga ito, no, ay nasimulan na early of 2022 at matatapos, no, probably in the next few months. That's why we have to also be, be excited about what specific systems ang may bibigay sa atin. At the same time, there's this app, no, Lusog Isip app that DOH created early this year. So that Lusog Isip app will also help us hindi lamang, no, to actually maintain our mental health, but to also access different information about mental health. And like what I've said earlier, the National Center for Mental Health is expanding its capacity in research. No? Dahil paano tayo makakagawa ng evidence-based na mga programa kung kakaunti lamang, no, yung ating data about mental health. And that's something also na without the law, no, is a problem. No? Kasi nung sinaunang panahon, way back in 2010 po kasi ako ay na-diagnose with major depressive disorder. And way back then, kakaunti lamang din yung pag-uusap at yung research about mental health. That's why I was also struggling to understand, no, where I am and what I'm feeling. So right now, there are specific research, no, that is being done para mas madami yung information din that we have, and yung data na yun ay magamit natin, no, for more appropriate and suitable na mental health program para sa iba't ibang mga um, localities, iba't ibang komunidad, iba't ibang mga sitwasyon. And I think this is my last slide. So, health human resource, no? So, all mental health service providers shall undergo capacity building, reorientation, and training to develop their ability to deliver quality mental health services. Actually, meron pong available na training programs, no? Si WHO, we call it MHGAP. We also have the equality rights, no? Training. Yung equality rights training is open for all, no? If you check the DOH Academy, it's also there. You can access it. Itong equality rights training na ito ay para sa lahat, para mas maintindihan natin kung what is mental health, no, as your basic human right. At the same time, yung MHGAP, no, is being used to train yung ating other mental health service providers. So, nandiyan na din yung sa barangay health workers, etc. Para we're all aligned, no, about how we want to also provide, or what kind of service to provide, no, when it comes to mental health. And NCMH will be a main educational facility. So lastly, no, ito na actually, second to the last slide, no, I would like to reiterate itong what we call self-care pyramid. If you would check po, mga kababayan, mga kapamilya, kapuso, kaibigan, kapatid, if you would check the pyramid, yung nasa baba nito is self-care. And what Stacey shared with us earlier is definitely something that we have to ponder on, and something that we have to also consider, no, on a daily basis. Ang self-care po ay hindi lamang natin ginagawa kapag hindi na tayo okay, no? It should be practiced regularly. It should be um, um, done at all times, no? Dahil kinakailangan mo din ng pahinga. Kinakailangan mong bigyan ng pagmamahal at kalinga ang iyong sarili. And if you check this care pyramid, yun yung nasa pinakababa, dahil ito yung pundasyon ng lahat ng pwedeng kalinga, no? At serbisyo na makuha natin. Yung serbisyo makukuha natin sa ating mga sarili. Ang sumunod po dyan is yung informal community care, because definitely with the help of the people you love, the people around you, you can also prevent the onset of a mental health condition, no? And next na dyan, no, is other specialized, primary care, health services, and specialized care, no? Na sana hindi na tayo umabot doon. Kaya lagi po nating tatandaan na ingatan natin ang ating mga sarili, alagaan natin ang mga sarili natin. Kaya nga, kami sa Youth for Mental Health Coalition, lagi namin talagang sinasabi na ikaw, ako, tayong lahat ay mahalaga lagit-lagi. And we have to understand that. Kailangan natin yun ma-internalize sa ating mga sarili. The law is there to actually protect us. The law is there, the law is there not just to protect us, but to also provide us with the care that we need. Pero, ang lahat ng ito naman boils down sa kung gaano natin nabibigyan ng importansya, no, yung ating kalusugang pangkaisipan. Maraming salamat po, at kung kinakailangan niyo po ang tulong ng Youth for Mental Health Coalition, may that be for information, may that be for service, o di naman kaya ay meron lamang kayong gustong itanong o idulog, maaari po kayong magmensahe sa amin sa aming Facebook page. So that's Youth for Mental Health Coalition, o di naman po kaya ay sa aming email, that's info@y4mh.org. Lagi niyong tatandaan, ikaw, ako, lahat tayo mahalaga, lagit-lagi. Ako po ulit si Alyannah Lagasca, National Chairperson ng Youth for Mental Health Coalition. Maraming salamat po.
Thank you so much, Miss Alyannah, for sharing with us the developments in the mental health landscape in the country. Naku, napakarami ko nga natutunan at nalaman sa mga scenario ngayong hapon na to. But before I let you go, alam ko mamaya pa ang ating Q&A. Kung pwede lang ako mag-squeeze ng very, very quick question. Kasi medyo curious ako dahil na-discuss nyo kanina kung gaano kaganda at karami yung nakapaloob dun sa ating Mental Health Act, no? So, siguro to summarize lang din everything you shared, yung mga yung yung mga shinare nyo kanina sa atin na ano na yung mga nagawa nyo, ano yung mga tapos natin. On a scale of 1 to 10, in terms of implementation, sa tingin nyo, nasaan ang Pilipinas right now sa pag-i-implement ng ating Mental Health Act?
Ang hirap naman ng tanong mo, Claire.
Ano, very quick
Sige.
lang.
Maybe, well, I'll be really honest, no? We still have to realize kasi that checking into mental health and actually forwarding the advocacy, it should be a whole nation approach. So, kinakailangan natin yung help ng government, yung help ng ating mamamayan, at help din, no, yung public and private sectors. At dahil dyan, no, yung ganong ideya, yung ganong approach ay dapat pa nating ma-internalize. So there are a lot of things being done by the different groups, no? But the thing here is you have to harmonize all of them. Kaya kung ako talaga yung tatanungin, malayo pa, no, yung kailangan nating tahakin. But I would say it has been 4 years, pero 4 years pa lang yun, no? I'm looking probably in the next 5 years, I would be happy if my future children will be able to experience the RA 11036 in its fullest. So, parang halata bang iniwasan ko yung sagot sa tanong mo. Pero masasabi ko siguro na if I will be objective, siguro nasa gitna pa lang tayo, no? Kasi well, relatively it's something new to us. Tapos nagkaroon pa tayo ng pandemya. Marami pa yung kailangan natin gawin. And marami pa tayong mga lugar na kailangan na ma-reach. And hopefully, with the Araneta City's Mind Your Mind, no, ay maka-reach pa tayo ng mga iba pang mga mamamayan, no, na ngayon pa lamang nalalaman kung ano talaga yung ibig sabihin ng mental health at ang relevance nito sa ating pang-araw-araw.
Maraming salamat. Siguro kahit medyo malayo pa, at least na getting there.
Yes,
Nandun
getting
na
there.
tayo. Correct.
Baby steps.
Correct. Kaya maraming salamat din no, sa Araneta City for holding this virtual forum. I'm sure maraming matutulungan to. Lalo yung mga nanonood sa atin ngayon. Ngayong hapon na to. So, ito actually marami na akong questions nakikita sa comment section. So, sa ating mga viewers, kung kayo rin po ay may mga tanong about mental health, comment below your queries or speakers can address it during our Q&A segment. You can also share our virtual forum using the hashtags #MindYourMind and City of First. Again, maraming salamat po ulit, Miss Alyannah Lagasca. Later, babalikan po namin kayo, makakasama po ulit namin kayo para sa aming Q&A session. Now, given the knowledge shared to us by Miss Alyannah, I think we're now ready to hear some tips and advice from a professional on how to give ourselves the break that we need and how to maximize time for ourselves. Naku, kailangan natin to kasi sure ako lahat ng mga nanonood dito, marami ring ganap sa life, 'di ba? So paano nga ba natin papangalagaan ang ating sarili? Paano ba tayo magkakaroon ng time para sa atin? So I'm happy to introduce our next speaker who is a multi-hyphenate, ika nga nila. She's a celebrity doctor, a podcaster, a host who has her own talk show on CNN Philippines entitled G Talks, and who has gained a lot of fans and followers due to her witty and insightful consultations. She uses her podcast to narrate all her experiences in life as a doctor, as a mom, as a breast cancer survivor, and as a staunch advocate for mental health awareness. So I'm privileged to introduce to all of you Dr. Gia Sison.
Hello, Claire, and hello to everyone who's watching us. And maraming salamat sa Araneta City for holding the Mind Your Mind webinar. So, kumusta ka, Claire?
Okay naman, Doc. Doing great so far. Actually, enjoy ko po itong forum dahil ang dami kong natututunan. 2 speakers, diba? 2 speakers down. Kayo po,
Okay,
Doc. How are you?
Ako naman, okay lang. Sakto lang. So, ito yung i-share ko sa inyo this afternoon. Kanina, pinag-usapan ni Alyannah yung mental health law. And dumikit sa mind ko yung self-care pyramid. And so, let's talk about how to take a break from all this, yung mga nangyayari sa ating buhay. Alam naman nating very stressful. But, again, let's not forget our mental health. So, pasok. Slides. There. So, how to take a break? Next slide. Thank you sa pag-assist po sa akin. Okay. alam naman natin na yung pressure, it's part of everyday life. Kumbaga, parang we breathe in and we breathe out pressure. But you know what? Madaming ways para ma-address natin yung pressure no, in whatever way na i-define natin to. Kasi iba-iba yung perception natin ng pressure, iba-iba yung ating concerns, and we have to realize that we are all different. Next slide. But at times, yung tinatawag na pressure na to and the whole life can be overwhelming. Especially if madami kang iniisip, which you have work, you have your family, you have school, and the whole scenario. Sometimes it tends to be parang tambak-tambak. So, sino dito ang nakaka-relate? Press 1 sa comment section. Ayan. So, next slide. Let's not forget na itong graph na to, hindi ko na to papahirapan pa. This just shows na imagine natin yung lives natin para tayong mga rubber band, no? Of course, ayaw naman natin yung sobrang bored. We want to be on the middle, no? Doon tayo sa may optimal performance. At ayaw naman natin ma-reach yung stage na burnt out na tayo. Hindi tayo maka-function, etc. And that is why we have forums like this, because as part of the mental health law, dapat sustained ang ating information drive. No, I'm part of Youth for Mental Health Coalition as one of their advisors, and I can attest dun sa mga weekly webinars na it's being held. Ang laking tulong. In fact, it was a huge help during the pandemic dahil alam naman natin isolation was really a problem up until now. And they really help because parang constant yung message na hindi ka nag-iisa. No? Sama-sama, literal. That is Youth for Mental Health Coalition for me. And that is how Araneta is now. And thank you for this session. So next slide. So ito naman, just tells us that stress can be good. Dun sa green, hindi siya nagiging good pag nagiging distressed na siya. Meaning to say, ito yung nagkakaroon ng negative impact sa physical health natin, mental health natin, and of course, yung social, yung ability natin makipag-usap sa iba and make connections. So, gusto natin more or less at least mabawasan yung distress. Next slide. Okay, ito naman, it's actually yung distress and eustress, no? Ito yung good stress, ito yung bad stress, ito yung good stress. Merong impact kasi yung mga nangyayari sa buhay natin, sa ating perception, kung paano natin nakikita ang mga bagay, sa ating mga emosyon, how we feel, sa ating productivity, yung mga nagagawa natin, and lastly, sa how we perform. So, example, may nangyari sa inyo na isang bagay na something negative. No? If we are in a place that is distressful, we see it as a threat. Although this is a normal feeling. But if you are in a state where maiba yung perception in terms of mahirap nga ito, pero I will take this as a challenge, hopefully, para maiba. No? Para baka meron ako matutunan dito. So that's how a balance should be, no? Sa mga nangyayari sa buhay natin. Next slide. And itong scene na to is from Spider-Man, no? So sabi nga nung aunt niya sa kanya, you do so much. You're not Superman, you know. So this is just a message for all of you that we have to know at some extent when you're already spent and when helping is already hurting you. Okay lang tumulong, pero pag dumating na sa punto na ikaw na yung nasasaktan, that's another challenge, that's another issue. Next slide. Kanina, again, napag-usapan ni Alyannah yung pyramid, kung naaalala ninyo, pyramid ng WHO, self-care yung base. So, self-care is really not just a word, no? Self-care should be made as a habit. Parang normal lang siya everyday, no? Self-care is listening, no? And knowing what we need. Kasi lahat tayo may needs. And realizing that is actually a step towards self-care. Nagugutom ba ako? Ano ba yung nararamdaman ko? Ano ba yung kailangan ko ngayon? Pagod na ba ako? Yun ay maaring very simple questions. But when we answer that and try to dig deeper, madami tayong pwedeng sagot doon. Pagod ba ako? Yes. So, anong gagawin ko? So, it's realizing what we feel in the now. Next slide. So again, pagka pagod, stop. Take a self-care break. Hindi kawalan sa isang tao ang humingi rin ng tulong, diba? Because some of us may feel that we might be sharing too much of ourselves when we ask for help, whereas mabibigla rin tayo na pagka humingi tayo ng tulong, ang dami palang willing, sumuporta at tumulong. Next slide. So we have to create balance. Ang balance na yan, maaring hindi 50-50. And ito, ang personal take ko dyan, it will never be 50-50. So we find our balance. No? Maaring 70% sa trabaho, 30% sa atin. That's fine. But we have to realize that it's different, no? From person to person. And we have to find that on a personal note. Next slide. Practice self-compassion. Ito naman is something like we have to be mindful of what we tell ourselves, no? On what we say to ourselves. Many times, very conscious tayo kung anong nasasabi natin sa iba. And that is also fine. But how about you? No? Ano yung mga sinasabi ninyo sa sarili ninyo? Sinasabi nyo ba na hindi ko kakayanin to? Whereas sa iba, sinabi nyo, kaya mo yan, kakayanin mo yan. So, we practice that. No? We give what we can and we give it back to ourselves. And hindi po yan selfishness. That's a need that we have. Next slide. Itong picture na to is from Christine Neff. Siya po ay isang psychologist na nagpa-practice. She studies so much about self-compassion. And itong picture na to ay pinapakita lang na ang pag-practice ng self-care ay hindi selfish dahil may realization din tayo na meron tayong common need as termed humanity. So, it's really having this mantra na I have to take care of myself first before I can take care of others. So, be kind to yourself. Next slide. And we have to take rest seriously. Alam niyo po, 9 years ago, when I was diagnosed with breast cancer stage 2, kala ko ang pagpahinga ay baliwala. But having had cancer and chemotherapy and everything, it actually parang pinilit niya ako magpahinga. And health is wealth. No? So that was a major game changer sa life ko because it made me realize that, yun nga, kailangan ko muna alagaan ang sarili ko bago ko alagaan ng iba. Next slide. So ito, meron lang tayong 7 types of rest, no? When I encountered this, interesting siya dahil hindi lang ang rest or ang pagpahinga ay hindi lang yung natutulog ka. Meron din siyang mental rest. Example, yung break time. Mano ba naman 30 minutes, mag-break kayo, kumain or, off the computer. Meron rin tayong sensory break. Yun nga yung sa screen sa laptop, sa phone. We have creative rest, enjoying nature or appreciate and even enjoying arts. I'm sure ang Araneta City meron siyang art. There's an art place there that I will visit soon. No? Emotional rest, no? Meaning to say it's a time and a space to freely express your feelings. Kaya importante na we establish a safe space where we are able to talk about it, na hindi tayo na-judge as weak, as emotional. I hope not. No? Social rest. Ito yung you surround yourself with people who are supportive of you. And lastly, spiritual rest. No? Your ability to connect your physical health and your mental health as well. Next slide. Ito importante. know when to say no. So we have to establish our boundaries. No? Merong mga bagay na hindi rin kawalan ang pagsasabi ng hindi. Kasi most of the time, nahihiya tayo kasi baka sabihin ng iba, hindi tayo nakikikooperate. It's really more of what they will say. But how about you? As a person, kailangan natin magpahinga. At may mga bagay na pagka hindi na natin kakayanin, and then we say no. And that's fine. Because on the next slide, may mga different types of boundaries tayo. Meron tayong emotional boundaries, time, topic boundaries, and of course, physical boundaries. Next slide. So how do you set your boundaries? So i-define ninyo, no? Pag-identify tayo ng isang aspect sa buhay natin na sa atin lang. And then, we learn to communicate, no? We learn to talk about it. Say what you need to say, and that's fine. Next, keep it simple, no? Okay lang na sabihin na, hindi ako pwede dito. We don't sometimes need to over-explain it because that's us. And lastly, set consequences as well. Say why it is important na hindi mo to gawin or gagawin mo ito. Okay, next slide. So sabi nga ni Paulo Coelho, who is actually one of my favorite authors, make sure that when you are saying yes to others, you're not saying no to yourself. Okay, so tandaan natin yan. So if there's one major takeaway na I wanna say dito sa ating Mind Your Mind, it's this. This is really self-care. Next slide. And again, delegate. No? Minsan, task, yung mga ginagawa natin sa buhay can be overwhelming. Gaya nga na sinabi ko sa simula. Dito na papasok yung you delegate and ask help from others because madami. No? There are a lot of people who are willing to support you. You just need to say what you need. Next slide. Again, rest is a habit. Pag sinabi nating habit, it's a good habit. No? We have to incorporate it sa ating daily life because we need it. Hindi naman tayo made to be machines. Hindi tayo makina on a 24/7 mode. We also need that rest para makapag-deliver tayo, para makapagpahinga tayo, at para maging healthy tayo. So next slide. List your current habits and kung wala ang rest dun sa habits ninyo, add nyo na yan. Add to cart na. Next slide. Create a plan also. It doesn't have to be a complicated plan. Again, keep it simple. Pero this pandemic has actually taught us, to plan things and to be ready rin. Set rin tayo ng expectations na baka may time na hindi tayo you might not meet it, but it doesn't mean that it will not happen. Next slide. And conversations with the people around you on policies and practices actually also ensure adequate rest. So again, it's all about communication for the need of support. Next slide. So that ends yung aking maikling talk for Mind Your Mind. Thank you again to Araneta City for the invite. And ito mga questions ay sasagutin po na. So back to you, Claire.
All right, thank you so much, Doc Gia, for the helpful advice, for that very insightful talk. Alam nyo, sobrang kailangan to ng lahat, especially now with the fast-paced lifestyle that we have. Same lang with Alyannah, sisingit lang din ako ng maikling tanong, no, Doc Gia. Kasi I think isang recurring item na mentioned across all three talks case, Miss Stacey, Miss Alyannah, and sa inyo po, Doc Gia, is yung self-care. And I know you mentioned doon mga items about self-care, but siguro to help lang din people know ano ba yung mga signs na dapat namin i-watch out para alam namin na, uy, parang medyo deprived na ako sa self-care. Uy, kailangan ko na palang mag-practice ng self-care. Siguro mga easy signs lang na dapat namin i-watch out.
Siguro one word. If you're getting tired already, you find yourself, so at the end of the day, parang pagod ka, wag mo nang pagurin pa yung pagod. Parang, alam mo yon, parang it's enough na i-acknowledge mo na, okay, pagod na ako. Pahinga muna ako. Kasi that step, mahirap pa eh. Kasi tayo, sige, pagod na ako. Pero sige, try ko pa rin. You know, yung mga ganyan, yung mga giving it a chance. But for me talaga, it's a practice na we have to already start, you know, acknowledging that we're tired and that we, you know, hindi kawalan ang to take a break. Diba? So, yun yung take ko dyan. Yung sa sarili mo, pagod ka na.
Thank you so much, Doc Gian. Ako, kailangan ko yung tandaan. Kailangan ko yung tandaan. Kailangan ko yung i-practice, no? Alright, so to all our viewers, now's your time to shine. You can comment all your questions regarding mental health because our guests, Miss Alyannah Lagasca and Dr. Gia Sison, are very much willing to address your questions. So, tumatanggap pa kami ng mga questions sa ating Facebook comment section, pero meron na kaming a few questions dito na babasahin. So the first one is a question to Miss Alyannah from Weiwei Ang. Pwede po bang erase ang mental health law sa office bullying? Thank you.
Ay, salamat po doon sa question, no? Pero bago ko siguro sagutin clear yung question, gusto ko lang dagdagan yung sinabi ni Doc Gia kanina. Isa siya actually panawagan, no, para sa lahat, lalo na dun sa ating mga youth leaders ngayon, na wala nang ibang ginawa kung hindi lumaban para sa, well, better landscapes in the Philippines, no? It's the pandemic and all of the certain socio-economic, political, cultural issues in the country ay napakahirap naman talaga na i-address at this time. So I'm hoping na lahat talaga ay nagbibigay ng pahinga para matamaan ng very, very light na Doc G. Pero,
Yun talaga yan.
ay para po ba sa akin yun? Pero definitely, no, I hope everyone gets enough rest also, despite all of the challenges and the problems that we're trying to resolve. But anyways, ayun, moving back to the question, no, actually when we also discuss specific mental health in general, no, kasama na din of course dito yung iba't ibang concerns. Kasama na din doon yung bullying, no? Hindi lamang sa office but in all of the other spaces that we are in. Kunwari, yung cyberbullying, no? And even school bullying, no? Definitely all of those will influence, no, the way you perceive yourself or kung paano ka mag-interact with the other people. And later on, it will affect your mental well-being. So when we were creating yung memorandum with the Department of Labor and Employment, it's also something that we raised to them. That's why it's also part of one of the concepts, no, na kinakailangan ma-address ng mental health program ng ating mga workplaces. Yeah.
All right,
So
thank you so much.
definitely everything mental health, we have the mental health law to also help us with that.
Okay. Thank you so much, Miss Alyannah. And also, thank you to Miss Weiwei Ang for that question. Proceed na tayo sa next one. Kay Doc Gia naman. How can self-expression help improve mental health? So that's a question from Sir Leroy Pelaez.
It's actually a start kasi we start with self-awareness kasi. Again, we identify our needs and then we have to learn somehow to express them. Kasi mahirap the more kasi you suppress the way you feel, it will catch up double. So it actually will help improve our mental health if we learn how to open up more. Hindi ko sinasabi kasi may mga ibang tao talaga na doesn't prefer to, but it actually helps improve, when you express yourself and how you feel. So, ayun, sana nakatulong ako sa question ni Leroy.
All right, thank you so much, Doc Gia. Another question po for you. How can I support my friend who is struggling with mental health? Ito naman ay nanggagaling kay Sir Car Emanon Salen.
Hello, Eman. So, maraming salamat. So, for Eman, ito, one word lang, listen. A lot of our friends or a lot of individuals really just need someone to, who can listen to them with no judgment. Kasi minsan, naka-autopilot na tayo na pagka nakikinig tayo, meron tayong automatic response. Or nakikinig tayo, meron na nagpo-formulate na advice sa atin. When most of the time, ang kailangan lang na kausap natin is someone who will listen to the way they feel. So for me, how can you be of support? To listen. No? and also to try to find out what your friend needs. So, yun. Yun yung aking answer doon.
Mhm. God. And singit na question lang, Doc Gia. Siguro kapag gano'n, advisable ba na tinatanong natin yung person na nagse-share sa atin na parang, okay, so for this one, do you want me to listen or do you want me to give advice? Parang gano'n. Mayroon ba, dapat ba tinatanong natin sa kanila ano yung approach na gusto nilang, or ano yung response na gusto nilang makuha from us?
Siguro
Advisable.
more of, it's more of, yes, you can ask that, no? Yung, uh, do you want my advice? Or better yet, a question na ganito, uh, how can I be of help?
Mhm.
Paano ako makakatulong? Yung ganon. And then, malalaman nila na it will actually open a lot of doors. So kung kailangan yan ng advice, magsasabi yan. Or magsasabi yan na parang, wala, kailangan ko lang na may makinig sa akin. So madaming ano yan. But it all starts with asking the person what does he or she need na makaka-support sa kanya at that present moment.
Ganda, ganda. Thank you so much po, Doc Gia. Itong fourth question, any po sa inyong dalawa can answer. Somebody in my family has a mental illness. What are the chances that I will go through that as well?
Ayun, okay.
Any po.
Sige po.
Go
Well,
muna.
some mental health conditions can be passed on from one generation to another, no? So, yun yung biological na concept din or
Yes.
aspect ng mental health. That's why, dapat talaga sa bawat pamilya, meron din tayo, alam din natin yung history ng mental health conditions in the family. Kasi meron din naman na mga mental health conditions na pwede naman nating ma-prevent. That's why talagang prevention is, sabi nga nila, prevention is always better than cure, di ba? But in this case, yun nga, kinakailangan natin na alam natin yung history ng mental health conditions in the family so that we'll be able to address yung mga specific na situation agad-agad bago pa maging severe yung form.
Got it. Kayo po, Doc GM, anything to add po?
Yeah, I share the answer of Yana. Meron talaga may genetic predisposition yung tawag namin doon. So it's important that we are aware about it. But however, anyone naman can get affected by it. So know your history. So yeah.
All right. Thank you so much po. And then for Miss Alyannah, how can we be part of Youth for Mental Health? And are there upcoming events for students? Wow, ganda ng
Medyo
question.
kinilig ako dito sa question.
No,
Yeah, actually, in all honesty, no, we closed our membership recently, but we are reopening it this month, no, kasi nga we're getting a lot of messages from young people who wish to be part of the organization and really volunteer for the mental health advocacy. So narinig po namin kayo. We'll be reopening the applications to be a member of Youth for Mental Health Coalition this Friday, actually. October 14 po. So, antabayanan niyo po yung aming application form na ilalagay po namin sa aming Facebook page, Instagram, and Twitter. Hindi naman po mahirap, no, ang pagiging, pag-a-apply as member ng coalition. Kinakailangan lang po natin sagutan yung aming application form para lang din po mas makilala namin kayo. Dahil us in Y4MH, we are an inclusive group, no? Dahil ang gusto talaga namin ma-instill dito is yung community care. Na pagsali nyo sa organisasyon, hindi lamang kayo mag-volunteer for the advocacy, but also you get a family from the organization, a support group, no? That will also help you go through the specific challenges that you are going through. At the same time, meron po kami actually events this October. So magpa-promote na ako, sorry Claire.
Yes, okay
So
lang. Go ahead.
On October 21st, we have a discussion about mental health and social media. Most specifically, dahil social media na yung ating espasyo, no? Kung saan tayo nag interact with other people. We also would want to normalize the conversation actually. Dahil minsan, no, we're still very shy to discuss or talk about mental health. But we want to normalize it para mas maintindihan natin, no, yung relevance or significance ng ating kalusugang pangkaisipan. And on October 23rd, we actually have this mental health muna, galaw laban sa stigma, no? So it's an interactive activity with all physical activities also, no? It will be held here in Metro Manila. Other details to follow in the following days. And ang gusto lang sana namin doon ay samahan nyo kami, no? Kasi itong, well, basically, this is a yearly thing for Y4MH, eh. But we had our last event like this noong 2019 kasi nga biglang nagkaroon ng pandemic. But binubuhay namin siya ulit ngayon. So sama-sama po tayo sa October 23, hindi lamang para sa mga estudyante, kundi para sa lahat ng gustong sumali as we strive, no, to give more awareness sa ating publiko. At syempre, para mas maintindihan natin ano ba yung essence ng physical health sa ating mental health. Yan.
Mhm. Alright, maraming salamat po. So, sa lahat ng nanonood ngayon, sana po ay mag-participate tayo, sumali tayo, at supportahan natin ang mga events ng Y4MH. Alright, so bago ko po kayo i-let go, any final words po mula sa ating mga speakers this afternoon? Miss Alyannah muna.
Ayan, una sa lahat, no, maraming salamat sa Araneta City for actually doing this discussion. No? It's been a long time na naka-experience tayo ng pandemic. I think wala pa tayo dun sa post-pandemic na phase, no. And na-challenge talaga yung ating mental health ng COVID-19. That's why discussions like these are very important, no? Dahil ito yung particularly I'm hoping that you feel like this is a safe space wherein you learn, you understand yourself more, and you also give that specific empathy, no, towards another person. I mean, from what you have learned today, I hope yun yung ma-apply natin sa ating mga interactions and relationships. Gusto ko lang idagdag din kanina, no, self-expression. Para sa akin, opinion ko lamang po, no, napaka-importante ng self-expression. Lalo na yung pagdamdam natin sa ating mga emosyon. Dahil ang ating mga emosyon ay nagsasabi sa atin, no, of who we actually are. No? So, I'm hoping that you also express when you're angry, when you are sad, when you're confused, when you're worried, and all of that. Because when you express all of those feelings, kahit hindi sila pleasant, no? Kahit unpleasant emotions sila, you get to understand yourself better. Pag hindi mo deprive yung sarili mo of that chance to actually know your emotions, you get to also learn how to manage them later on. And I believe yun yung pinaka-importante siguro sa lahat. I mean, I've heard from a lot of people, their stories in the last 6 years. And I would say, no, that majority of people I talk to, whenever they get to express themselves, mas nakakatulong yun sa kanila. And personally, sa akin din. Kaya sana magkaroon tayo ng lakas talaga, makita natin yung lakas to actually express ourselves. And lastly, siguro, no, alagaan ng sarili. I mean, easier said than done. But then, ito talaga yung makapagbigay sa atin ng chance for us to achieve the highest potential of our mental health. And syempre, katulad nga po ng lagi-lagi namin sinasabi, ikaw, ako, lahat tayo mahalaga. At sana maintindihan natin that we all deserve to experience life at its fullest, no? So, ipaglaban mo yung karapatan mo para sa iyong mental health, ipaglaban mo yung kasiyahan mo, choose to be happy, choose that path to happiness, and of course, realize your own worth. Dahil lahat ng yan all together, you'll be able to balance your challenges and of course, your physical and mental health. And di ba hindi, I think everyone wants, di ba, to be happy and be able to live their lives to the fullest. Kaya happy Mental Health Day po sa inyo at maraming salamat po ulit sa pakikinig.
Maraming salamat, Alyannah. Napakaganda naman ng iyong parting words sa ating audience this afternoon. And then finally, Doc Gia, kayo naman po.
Yeah, first of all, thank you to Araneta City for the invite. I'll just resonate kung ano yung sinabi ni Alyannah. No one has the right to deprive you of how you feel. So again, lagi ko sinasabi, all feelings are valid. Kasi ikaw yan eh. Ikaw yan, emosyon mo yan. We deserve to be heard also. So I hope you take care of yourself, no? Because again, I'll end it with there's no health without mental health. So again, it's I know it's difficult, but in this world, especially nowadays, to be extra kind to one another is malaking bagay yan. Because you'll never know kung ano yung dinadala ng kasalubong mo. Baka mukhang happy siya, pero ang dami niya palang nararamdaman. So it pays to be a little kind, especially nowadays. And yan, sabi nga ni Vincent, live your life to the fullest. So yun, maraming salamat. Claire, Yana, it's so nice to see you. Emma and the group of Araneta, maraming salamat. I hope to more forums like this.
Thank you so much, Doc Gia. And there you have it, guys. Maraming salamat ulit sa ating mga guests this afternoon. Ladies and gentlemen, Ms. Alyannah Lagasca, Dr. Gia Sison, and our Binibining Pilipinas second runner-up, Stacey Daniela Gabriel. Thank you also to all our viewers for joining us this afternoon. And I'm inviting everyone to visit the World Mental Health Campaign activities in Araneta City. Feel free to express your thoughts and emotions on the motivational wall at the Gateway Mall activity area. Ayan, we're showing it on the screen. And view the artworks created by Tarek Garcia. I hope to see you there, guys. And you can also join the digital promo of Araneta City entitled Tag Your Person. Follow the official social media pages of Araneta City for more details and updates. There you have it, guys. That marks the end of our program. If you were able to catch some memorable quotes and learnings from our speakers today, please post it on your social media accounts and don't forget to tag Araneta City and put hashtag City of Firsts, hashtag Mind Your Mind. Again, this has been Claire Dulay, your host for today. See you all in the next Araneta City events at magandang hapon sa inyong lahat. Bye!